Hey, welcome y'all! That's right. This is a Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 62 for Thursday, September 9th, 2016. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace, joined in the PETM Podcast studio in Atlanta, Georgia by Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I think I got all my poop in one pile, and I'm ready to do this episode.
Finally, he's been
too excited. I think I was nervous because of our guest.
We do have a guest. Before we get to our guest, real quick, we wanted to thank everybody. We had a lot of good, fun feedback from y'all on the Darlington episode that we did live at the campground last week. If you ain't heard it yet, go on iTunes. Go on. I'll have it up on YouTube here in a little bit. I kind of slacked off on that, but had a lot of good response from that, and it was really fun to do. We promise we're not going to get that sideways and weird and crazy every time, but good old one-off episode, and had a blast. Sherwin?
Yeah, I think some of the folks actually really liked how wild we got.
It did get a little crazy.
Sherwin, I got some feedback that was pretty good.
Sherwin, we've got a special guest on tonight. Her name is Kelly Crandall of the NASCAR on NBC website. Welcome to the show, Kelly. How you doing today?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We met Kelly at the we've I think interacted with her on Twitter quite a bit. Sherwin, you have especially, and we met her at the Tweet Up over at the Darlington racetrack, and she said, "Yeah, I'll jump on anytime." So we appreciate you jumping on so quick. It's going to be real fun. We're going to have some fun. We always start with one thing that's real fun, and we ask everybody what you drinking tonight. So Kelly, what you drinking?
I'm probably not as entertaining as your past guest. I'm being good. I just have some water right now.
Well, that's a way to rehydrate and get yourself ready to roll for the next time, for sure.
Well, especially if you got a lot of things going on the weekend.
Yeah.
I know I've got a Boulevard Tropical Pale Ale. It's quite good. It's very tropical. It's nice and citrusy and tasty.
Now, what's this thing that you poured us, Sherwin? This is some sort of
it's
bourbon
it was a Total Wine Alpharetta Special. They got a single barrel that was 10 years age. It's a bourbon. It's from Calumet, which is a bottler, not a distiller, which we're very discretionary on that they don't distill their own things. They buy their whiskey and then they put it in a barrel, or they buy a barrel. But
awesome. Well, it tastes real good. Yeah. I'm digging it. Kelly, why don't you tell us what you're up to? Thank you for coming on the show, like we said. Tell us what you're doing. Tell us, a little bit about yourself and stuff, and introduce yourself to the PETM posse here.
Well, thanks. No, I'm glad to be here. I've heard a lot of positive things about this podcast. I'm glad to take my turn, and hopefully people like it. But no, just spending a lot of time over on NASCAR. I'm on NBC Sports, the website, and spending a lot of time right now focusing on my spotlight features I've been doing on the Xfinity Series, which is hopefully helping the fans get to better know some of the drivers and the personalities behind some of the guys who are over in that garage, because I know we spend a lot of time normally looking at big picture stuff in this sport with the Sprint Cup Series. So, but no, I work over there and help with the website. I was at Darlington, like you guys said. We met up at the Tweet Up, and but yeah, most of my time right now is just making sure I have my ducks in a row with that series and lining up interviews and different Q&As and stuff. So that's pretty much it. I like to keep it simple.
That's really cool. And I was reading up on some of your more recent articles there, and really cool to hear about what's going on, deep in the garage, I'll say, and talking to those guys and getting their background stories and stuff. Y'all be sure to check her out. Real quick, we always do one thing on the podcast after our What You Drinking segment. We talk about the numbers. So it's episode 62, Sherwin.
62. This one, I wouldn't say struck a chord with me, but I was excited about it because I knew it was coming. Because of how much fun it's been to watch Brennan Gaughan do his thing in the Xfinity Series. And I think there's a lot of things about him that people don't know.
Driver of the number 62 car.
Yeah, driver number 62 for Richard Childress Racing. He's been doing so for several years, and he was a tremendous college athlete. He walked on to the Georgetown University basketball team. He was teammates with Allen Iverson.
Wow.
Saw time in 25 different games in his collegiate career. And the thing that I didn't know that I found out today was that he was a place kicker for the football team at Georgetown and set a Division I AA record for percentage made extra points, with 39 of 40 made in 1994.
In 1994, that kind of shows his age too. I didn't realize, maybe just because of the series he's in and how long he's been there, I guess. But I always thought he was kind of one of the young guys. But shoot, that's he's got some age underneath him, huh?
He's been at it for a minute.
Yeah, yeah. And Kelly, you said you've talked to Brendan Gaughan before. What's he like? Tell us about him.
Brendan is one of my favorite people in the Xfinity Garage for sure, and it's funny that it's funny, and I like the fact that it falls on the show that I'm on with you guys tonight, because you're talking about different things that people may not know about him, and he was actually a feature of one of my recent Xfinity spotlights, and I talked to him a lot about things that I don't think fans knew about him, and a lot of it was about Georgetown and his background. So Brendan is one of my favorite people in the Xfinity Garage. He always has a smile. He's always cracking jokes. He's just very positive, very lovable. And like you said, he's been doing this for so long. He's kind of seen a little bit of everything in this sport. But he's so positive about, his career, about the sport in general. He has really good insight about racing, about just the direction of the sport and the cars and just racing in general. So I love talking to Brendan every time I get the chance. Every time I see him on pit road or in the garage, he's always good to come over and kind of pick on me a little bit, or just he takes the time to say hi to people, see how they're doing. So he's great for NASCAR in general. He's great as one of the elder statesmen in the Xfinity series, because people enjoy watching him. One of the things that I've liked to talk to Brendan about, and I did this for my feature, was, we very well could have been talking about Brendan as a champion in NASCAR, a couple years ago, when that truck championship just slipped away at Homestead in an accident. So he's great for the sport. His career hasn't exactly gone as he thought it would go, but he's back on top now in a way with Richard Childress. He still wants to be around. He's still competitive, and I think he will be one of the guys to watch once this Xfinity Chase starts. So I like that we get to talk about Brendan tonight when I'm on. I like how that kind of fell into place.
Yeah, that's great. That's really cool. I did not know that you had recently done an interview with him. That's really cool, and I'm going to make sure I check it out.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool that he won it, Road America last year. Or was it 2 years ago? No, it was last year.
Whenever it was.
And yeah, it was really fun to see how excited he was to win a race.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any fun stories with him? Did he? You said he picks on you a little bit. Anything crazy that he does?
He like I said, he's just a good guy. He's always good for a smile. I remember, I think it was either last year or it might have been 2 years ago. Actually, this weekend, or this race at Richmond, we were in Richmond, and I was doing my whole pre-race thing, running around, just taking pictures, kind of taking in what was going on pre-race. And I went to take a picture and snap a picture of him as he was walking from driver intros, and he pulled out his Sharpie and acted like he's going to draw on my phone. So, yeah, he's just, like I said, he's just a really good guy. And that Road America win, I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, and I remember writing about that, and I said, and I wrote a column, and I said how good it was, not only for Brendan, but like I said, for the sport, because he is that all around good guy. And that win meant so much to him, to finally break through and get into victory lane in the Xfinity series. He had so much success in the truck series. He only got to dabble in the Cup series, and it didn't go, obviously as well as he'd planned. He only got one full season there before, things went downhill. So that win meant a lot to him, and he picked up another one just a couple weeks later after that in Kentucky. And he's ready to contend for a championship. He's ready to win some more races. So like I said, it's just cool to talk about him because he's one of my favorite people.
That's great. That's really cool, and Sherwin, great pick on number 62 to get us there. So there's number 62, y'all. Sherwin, it's time to tear it down, and we've got a lot to tear down. You ready?
Yeah, we do have a lot.
Well, there's our sound for it, and here we go. So I think we need to start with the truck series. Everybody stretch out a little bit. Kelly, do some calisthenics or something, because we've got some stuff.
How much of are we doing? All of the truck race stuff now?
Yes.
And tearing it down.
Yep, that's what we're doing.
We're gonna get everything, because we had some good questions come in from the PETM crowd. And obviously, we've both seen the finish. We know what happened. There's been a ton of Twitter fodder, be it NASCAR pundit or Sprint Cup racer.
Real quick, we'll give them shout outs. Patrick Cleary, a good friend of ours, at PatWolf13, and also a longtime listener and longtime question asker, Kyle Larson Updates at 42_updates. Both had questions for us, and we'll kind of ease into those. But Kelly, let's start off with what do you think? Dirty, not dirty, cool, not cool. What's your breakdown of it?
Oh my goodness! I I struggle with this one because I seem to have a much different opinion than the majority.
Well, this is the place to express that opinion for sure.
I'm guessing you all align with me. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, so when I was watching it, and I was watching it in the media center at Darlington with everybody, all of my fellow colleagues who were there, and then when you're watching it live and you're kind of trying to digest it live, I thought it was great. I thought I got a big kick out of it. We were all hooting and hollering. We all couldn't believe what we had seen, and that was even before the tackle happened. So just the finish, just the finish already had us out of our chairs, and everybody was talking and kind of just pointing at the TV and couldn't believe it. So watching it live, I got a kick out of it. I thought it was great. When you go back and you break it down, though, I can see, and I do agree, to a point that it was probably a little bit, over the line by John Hunter. I've talked with people who have a better understanding of him than I do, who have known him longer, and they said that it wasn't really surprising. That they're kind of used to it. Huh. To me, I think maybe that's why I differ about whether it was dirty or not, because I'm not used to seeing that from John Hunter. So in the moment, I thought it was fine. I thought it was great. I thought, it was just one of those things where, he bumped him once, ran him off the track, and then all of a sudden you see, two cars or two trucks come back together and just can't seem to get off each other. But looking back, I can see, where people say it was kind of unnecessary. So I'm fine with it. And I think, like I said, I think that's where I differ from the majority of everybody else, because I have been blown away by the reactions from my colleagues, from fans, from drivers who have just been beside themselves talking about how dirty it was and unnecessary, and it broke the driver code, and it was over the line, and I really didn't view it like that. So I'm kind of surprised by that, but like I said, I thought it was fine, but I understand why people think that. I'm fine, at the same time, I'm perfectly fine with Cole Custer doing what he did.
Yeah. For sure.
Because if, the simplest way I can put it is, if John Hunter Nemechek wants to drive that way, if he wants to make that move, if he wants to put himself in that position, he has every right to do that. At the same time, Cole Custer has every right to be upset that he didn't win the race. We know that he's racing for the chase because he's most likely not going to make it in on points. So, yeah, I that's how I broke it down. If John, one has the right to drive like that, and one has the right to be mad. So I'm fine with it. I will say the one thing that I'm not okay with is actually the lack of a penalty, strictly because I have to admit I'm one of those journalists and just one of those people who believes that if we're going to have rules and if we're going to have penalties, if you're going to fine guys like John West Townley and Spencer Gallagher earlier this year, or when there's any type of physical altercation, and you didn't fine, at least Cole Custer or the both of them, I'm a little shocked by that, if anything. But I was okay with everything else, and as much as I don't agree with the majority's opinion, I respect the fact of everybody freaking out about it.
So our friend Patrick Cleary had asked us, what do y'all think about NASCAR not issuing any penalties in the wake of the last lap, and not just the last lap, but the aftermath of it? So I think you've answered that really well. And also with Kyle Larson Updates, sent us the question, as a fan, can you offer your opinions on John Hunter's move? And I think that's where I'm very well aligned, which is, as a fan, and you're watching it in the moment. Now, of course, I had to watch it on replay. It was more, did you see what John West Townley, or not John West Townley, what John Hunter Nemechek did? And you watch it, and even knowing that something crazy is fixing to happen, I was standing up. I'm watching on my phone. I stand up. I've got my hand on my head. I'm screaming at the phone. I've probably let loose a couple words that aren't safe for the podcast, and texting back and forth with Sherwin. I mean, as a fan, that was very exciting. Now, whether you want to, depending on who you're a fan of, or whether you want this hard line of, oh, that's not cool by the code of conduct or whatever, it was still exciting, whether good exciting, bad or bad exciting. You're going to be jumping up. You're going to be going crazy, and now all eyes are on what's going to happen next between those two. So it felt good there, and it kind of felt old school too a little bit. I've seen people talk about that, and in this day and age with social media, everybody gets an opinion out really quickly, and there's thousands of people talking about it. Sherwin?
Well, the thing is, number one, I think I'm pretty well aligned with Kelly in that I don't think it's that big a deal. If I look at the stat sheet, let's get deep into just the data you see on a piece of paper in an Excel spreadsheet, I see John Hunter Nemechek harvested a position.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know that he did it because he doesn't want to battle Cole in the truck chase that's new this year? No, we don't know that. Did he do it because he thought winning was the best way for him to attract a sponsor or a potential team
I don't
owner?
think you're thinking about that in the moment.
I think what you want what you want to take away from it is you had a guy that thought winning was better than any of the publicity that he would get after the fact. Or the winning publicity would be better than any negative thing that would happen. I'm not bothered by it. I was bothered when Chase Elliott drove in too deep and dumped Ty Dillon because I wanted Chase to be something that that he is now. I wanted him to be what he is now. But you realize that it took something to happen at Mosport this weekend for that to even come back up. And I don't think anybody cares from the Chase Elliott perspective about having dumped Ty Dillon because he overshot the corner. Yeah, he just got it over his head, but he still dumped him.
I think he got into a situation, and then he had to commit to that situation too. Because as long as he rode Cole Custer, is like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I have to do this. I'm sorry.
The hilarity and this little behind the scenes science perspective on it is the reason why they didn't hand John Hunter the checkered flag when he went and asked for it right before he got tackled by this linebacker by Cole Custer is because NASCAR didn't have scoring data to support that he had won because they were off the racetrack.
Yep.
And the scoring loops are in the asphalt. Mm-hmm. So that's another kind of funny thing.
Yeah. So let's move to the Xfinity Series. Well, let's talk about that. You kind of brought it up. Do you think, from the perspective, Kyle Larson Updates asked us this, from the perspective of Xfinity Cup owners and also from the perspective of sponsors, what do you think of it? For me, it's
Nothing.
One of those,
It's
publicity
zero.
is good publicity. I mean,
where are you going? Nowhere.
In
terms of a sponsor perspective, they
right,
don't care.
Right.
They don't care.
What do you think, Kelly?
I have to commend you guys because I had not thought about it like that until you had said something. So,
commendment, whatever it's called, goes to our loyal listeners there because we can't think of that good a question.
Well, I hadn't thought about it like that. I don't think in the moment there's anything that sponsors or partners will think of or be mad about. If anything, if you're a potential partner, they may look at it the opposite and say, well, he's a driver who we know is going to do whatever it takes to win. Mm-hmm. So I haven't thought about it in terms of the negative, but who knows? That could be something down the road.
Yeah, for sure. But although we've seen Kyle Busch give double middle fingers, and there's
how many
M&Ms right on the front of the car.
Just said, you know what? We're working on Kyle's behavior.
Yep.
But he keeps parking it in victory lane.
Mm-hmm. Parking it. We talked about the Xfinity.
That's a throwback to Brian Clausen.
There you go.
Rip.
We talked about the Xfinity race in the last podcast. I don't know if there's a whole lot more to go on, but I'd love to hear, Kelly, from your perspective. We saw Elliott Sadler win. We talked about it on the last podcast that, a few laps, whenever Elliott took the lead in that race, which was within the first 25, 30 laps, something like that, And I turned to Sherwin and I said, man, it'd be really cool to see Elliott Sadler win a race live. That'd be fun. And sure enough, after a lot of drama and after a lot of back and forth,
2.5 hours later,
yep, we were watching him in Victory Lane having a good old time. So, what were your thoughts on that race, Kelly?
I was impressed because I thought that JR Motorsports had given Elliott the best car in the field, which, normally you expect that from the Gibbs drivers who he was battling with Denny Hamlin. But I thought that not just because he led the most laps, but I thought Elliott Sadler had the best car on Saturday. Or what was it, Saturday? I can't get my days.
I'm with you on these 3/4 day
afternoon,
3 and 4 day weekends. What day is it?
Yeah, the rain washing out Friday, completely messed me up. But so I think that was the most impressive part, is because JR Motorsports had built a car that was, like I said, the class of the field. As far as Elliott goes, I feel like with Elliott Sadler, you just never know which Elliott Sadler you're going to get, and that's not at all a knock on him. It's because you look at his career in the Xfinity Series the last couple of years, and he's been with, he seems like he has spent time with every organization. He's been at Roush, he's been at Joe Gibbs, he's been at Richard Childress, which at first was, Kevin Harvick Incorporated. Now he's at Junior Motorsports, and his numbers have always fluctuated in terms of, his success. So, this year with JR Motorsports, what is fun to watch is kind of how rejuvenated Elliott Sadler is, and really humbled and thankful for the position that he's in. And, a lot of that obviously has to do with his sponsor, One Main Financial, who has done a complete 180 and decided to stay on the number one car. But at the same time, I think he just is in a position where he's enjoying racing. He knows how good of a shot he has. He's enjoying who he's racing for because he has such a good relationship with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kelly Earnhardt Miller. So I'm happy for Elliott in that regard, because you're happy to see when things pan out well like that. But like I said, I'm more impressed with the fact that JR Motorsports, who has spent most of this year saying that they were going to get better, that they had work to do because they know that the Joe Gibbs racing cars are the standard right now. I'm impressed by the fact that they were able to come out on Saturday and have a car as good as they did with Elliott. Justin Allgaier wasn't as competitive as I thought he was going to be, but that one car was the class of the field, in my opinion.
Great perspective, and yeah, you had said a few things in there. I didn't have time to type them all up, but I'm like, whoa, I didn't think about that. So yeah, I love that. Thank you for that. Let's move on to the Cup race, dude. So Cup race, Martin Truex Jr. solidifies himself. I kind of threw my voice right there, but solidifies himself.
Throw your voice. Is this Beetlejuice?
What's going on? Solidified himself as a winner in the Cup Series this year. I mean,
first time he's won two.
Right, and I think if I remember correctly, thinking back to when he won the first one, we started talking about, what's his chances in the chase? What does he look? Is he one of the, first round and done guys, or is he up there? I think he's starting to answer that question a little more.
DEI was still on a peak then, and he had run good, very, very good that year, and then wins at Dover, which made a lot of sense because his family had raced there a lot. He won the September Dover race. What was that, 06, I think, in the Bass Pro Shops #1 for DEI. And, to see him get back to that, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and break into the, we've told, I think 3 or 4 times on the podcast now, is our joke used to be, remember when Truex was good? Because his first 2 or 3 years with Michael Waltrip Racing were just not good. And to see him do well now is just, it's so refreshing, especially when you think about all the things that his girlfriend Sherry Pollux has been through with her cancer fight. Like it's just so refreshing. You see a person that genuinely is as happy as he could possibly be about winning races and running fast.
Yep. Kelly, your thoughts on that race? On Truex?
I completely agree, especially with the fact, I love genuine winners because I feel like, we've gone through so many years recently where it's been the same drivers over and over, and victory lane and everything kind of gets boring because it's expected by these drivers. Martin Truex Jr. is making it fun again to watch drivers win races because he is so genuinely thrilled to be in victory lane, and certainly for many reasons, some of which you've mentioned, obviously the biggest being his girlfriend. But, Martin, I've looked at Martin's career almost the same way as Elliott Sadler's in terms of the peaks and valleys. I mean, there's been years where he was, really, really high, and you're like, man, this guy's really good. And then, things would go south, and, either he would, miss out on race wins that, for things that were not of his doing, which we've certainly seen a lot of in the last, this year and last year, or just, you wonder if he can close the deal. So to see him be as dominant as he has been this year, with the alignment with Joe Gibbs Racing and the move to Toyota, I don't think it's a surprise to see Martin Truex Jr. doing what he's been doing, because you have to remember, this guy won back-to-back championships in the Busch Series when he was driving for Chance 2 Motorsports with Dale Earnhardt Jr. So he knows how to get the job done. I think what we're seeing now is you're seeing a driver who has security, who has his life in order personally and professionally. He's with the right group of guys, and when you put that all together, you go out and you have a year like this. So the coolest thing for me is to just watch a driver who genuinely enjoys winning and who is doing it, obviously not as regularly as he'd want to. We've talked about, or we've mentioned, all the problems. But if you just look at his numbers this year, it's pretty unbelievable. So Martin, I think, is doing exactly what should be expected of him, and I think he's only going to get better as time goes on.
Once again, there were some points in that soliloquy that
we've had some of those conversations.
I'm like,
you and I
throwing my arms up, like,
off camera, off mic. We've talked about how we think that Truex is poised for a run, even though he's 36, and it feels like that's a little late for today's NASCAR. I don't know. I think Truex is poised for some tremendous performance.
So we had a little.
Like I said, I think that plays into the fact of, because you make a good point. Yeah, it seems like it's too late for him. Many people say the same thing about Dale Earnhardt Jr. Well, it's too late for him to ever win a championship, or it's too late for him to have the same type of success of a Jimmy Johnson. But when you look at Martin Truex Jr., I think it goes back to one of my earlier statements. This is a great example of what happens when you put a driver with the right group of people. I mean, Cole Pearn is probably one of the most underrated crew chiefs in the garage, who kind of came out of nowhere, at least maybe to the mainstream fan who really doesn't know what his background is, but he's been in the sport for quite a while. But he's one of those people that you put on top of a pit box, and it kind of has been a diamond in the rough. And you paired him up with Martin, who he has a very good relationship with personally and professionally. And you built a team around that 78 car who has the confidence in knowing that they have all the right equipment, they have all the right resources, either through themselves or Joe Gibbs Racing, and you put all of those pieces together, and this is the success that you're having. So, that's why I said I don't think anybody should really I don't think anybody should underestimate them, and nobody should certainly kind of say that it's a fluke, because this is a team that I really believe is going to keep getting better and better.
So we had a little bit of other drama too this week. I think Tony Stewart had something. Sherwin, what was the story there? Because we're watching in the stands, and when you're in the stands, you're not seeing everything that's going on. You're focusing on one or two drivers or what's going on the lead or something. What was the story there, Sherwin?
Well, I think, just for the fan perspective and anybody that's going to listen after the fact or who is tuned in now to the Periscope, when we go to the racetrack, we got the headset on.
Yep.
We got the two-way going.
Yep.
Or I guess it's really one-way. One person can talk, and then you talk back. And we're listening to the scanner of the driver that we like the most. And it is really easy to lose sight of what's happening in the race.
Mm-hmm.
And we're drinking beer. And I never saw Tony dump the 44.
Yeah.
Just said, I'm done with whatever it is you're doing. I did see when I watched part of the race today on DVR that the 44 was already injured. And that perhaps might have been the reason why Tony was upset.
I think
he was racing him.
He caused one or two cautions, if I remember.
Air quote, racing him. And so he just, coming out of two down backstretch, just dumped him. Tony dumped him.
Well, that'll happen. We had some news, too, out of Kevin Harvick's stable there. I don't think anything surprising, though, really. I mean, he
said all that same stuff when he was at RCR.
Yep.
When his pit crew was screwing up on a nightly basis.
Getting upset at his crew. I think they announced they're going to move some folks around.
They're pulling two guys from Danica's team.
Yeah.
Which we talked about I think we talked about it on the Wild Ass podcast from the Darlington campground, that you can't pull anybody from the other two guys because they're in the chase.
Right.
So Danica's team was the only one that was up for grabs.
Put together the best team you can. Kelly, anything from the inside that you've heard going on there?
No, we've all just been listening and watching the same stuff you guys have. You guys already nailed most of it. It's nothing new for Harvick, but you can certainly understand his frustration when you go out and lead 214 laps of 367. So
yeah.
Some drivers are more vocal than others. Kevin has certainly been that way in his career, and if that's what it's going to take to get management to make some changes and try something different, then I guess that's his style. So everybody's different in that regard.
Sure. So let's gas it up. Let's
gas it up.
So here's our little deal for that. Let's see if I can get it going. Whoa. We are gassing it up. There it is.
Might have blown everybody's eardrums.
Yeah,
right.
maybe with that one. But gassing up, we're going on to Richmond, which put on a hell of a show back in the spring as a daytime race. We talked about that a bunch, about how it was and how everybody loved it.
It's going to end up being, can they put the same show on at night? Are the cooler temperatures, are they going to, in the tire combination, going to allow to allow the driver to choose those 3 or 4, maybe even almost 4.5 to 5 different lines? It seemed like they could get down in there and do the thing they wanted to do, depending on how long the run was going to be.
Bunch of grooves at during the day race, and are we going to have those grooves at the night? Kelly, what do you think?
As a race fan, I love watching night races because, they're just fun to watch. I mean, the cars look great under the lights, and, racing at night is always interesting. But now that I've really been in the sport for a couple years and I have to kind of watch it with a different eye, I just don't think night racing is good racing. I mean, obviously, some races are, but Richmond has just never, at least recently, just has not done it for me. The spring race was great, like you mentioned, not only because of the finish, but I thought it was great racing. But I'm kind of going in cautious on Saturday night because, you're under the lights. I don't know if the groove is going to widen out as much as it did in the spring. Chris Buescher had mentioned that to me at Darlington, that he was excited to run the top because the groove did widen out. But I'm just not sure if we're going to see that. So racing under the lights is just, it's so finicky because it's either going to be really good or it's going to be really bad. So I'm kind of nervous because I don't want to go into the chase after another lackluster Saturday night race. But hopefully that groove can get widened out and we can put on a good show like we did in the spring, because the spring race I thought was really good. What
are the storylines you're really looking forward to, or that you're looking at right now for that race?
Well, I mean, it's all about the chase, obviously. Chris Buescher, can Chris Buescher keep his top 30 spot, because that's what's going to lock him into the chase with his win. He's only got an 11-point lead on David Reagan, which is pretty decent in today's point system. But, if he has a problem, you look at Michigan, where right from the start, he might have been down a cylinder. If something like that happens, or if he gets taken out, if somebody runs into him, I mean, anything can happen. So he's got to be obviously the first guy you're watching, because his position is not sewn up yet. And then as far as the 3 guys who are sitting in right now, Chase Elliott, Austin Dillon, and Jamie McMurray, I mean, they have comfortable gaps to Ryan Newman, and certainly after Newman lost another 15 points this week because of the Darlington penalty. So I don't think we're really going to see anything change there. I think it's going to be kind of like last year, where we went into Richmond already knowing that unless something out of the ordinary happens, like somebody new wins a race, I don't think we're going to see a change with who's in the chase and who's not in the chase. So the biggest thing to watch would probably be Chris Buescher, because I think his chances are falling out are a lot greater than Chase Elliott's, Austin Dillon, and Jamie McMurray at this point.
What do you think the chances are we get a new winner? Casey Kane? We're both fans.
It's funny. I was talking about this earlier with some other people. I think it's going to be more of the same of what we've already seen this year. We're 25 races into the season. You know who's good. You know who's not. You know who's kind of average and mediocre. So we get to this point in the season where I don't really start to see upsets. I don't expect to see upsets. I don't expect to see anything different. So you're probably going to have the more of the same up front. You're going to have the Gibbs cars. The Penske cars have run well at Richmond, and probably Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick will again carry the banner for Stewart-Haas. So I'm not expecting to see anything different. I understand, Casey Kane did run top 5 here in the spring, but that team is just so hot and cold that I just don't expect much out of them this year.
It's kind of cold, 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 and then warm. For sure.
Yeah, that's accurate.
That gets us to picks, and you know what we have to do with picks, Sherwin.
Uh-oh.
Here he is, our guy. Oh, our mascot there, dude that yells, "Drivers, start your engines!" If you didn't hear it, Kelly, but let's do picks. So we do picks every week. Obviously, so does every other sports outlet, but we might as well do it. Let's let our esteemed guest here take our first pick. I don't know if that's like a good thing, like you get the first pick, or if it's a bad thing, like you have to go first and everybody else can play off that. But
check and adjust.
Kelly, we're either letting you or making you go first, so you tell us.
It's funny. You guys have given me all day, actually have given me all week to think about this, and I haven't really nailed anyone down. So I guess I guess my gut would probably say Kyle Busch.
So hands are off the keyboard.
Good pick.
Hands are off the keyboard,
in terms
Sherwin.
Of driver
if you
at
need
a racetrack.
If you need me to, or if you need verification of this, I have the words Kyle Busch written down as my pick right here.
So,
and I don't know
Kelly's
what to do.
behalf, should I punch you in the face? Or?
Yes, or kick me between the legs or something like that. Because, dadgummit, she stole my pick. But Kyle, what did he have? 4 years of domination at this track. We know Gibbs is good here. Gibbs won earlier this year. Didn't Carl win?
Was it Carl? No, I thought it was Joey.
Carl and Kyle went 1-2 in the spring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we know Gibbs is strong. I'm thinking Kyle as well. I hate to just copycat here, but like I said, hands are off the keyboard. I didn't change it.
All right, fine. I'm going Chase Elliott.
Okay. You're trying to get a new guy in.
No, I'm trying.
Well, he wouldn't. He's already in, right? I mean, or at least on points or whatever. He's probably
he has an opportunity to point his way in.
Okay.
He can foul it up, but it looks pretty good for him to get on points.
Yeah,
I think he's going to win. Honestly.
Excellent. That takes us to our a segment we hadn't done in a while, and Kelly has even primed us for this one, and it's called Cheaters. Oh boy. We had some penalties. We had some non-penalties. We talked about that with the truck race, no penalties. But Ryan Newman has, he's pretty much kicked himself out of the contention now with the 15-point failed post-race penalty. That's, that probably sent some shockwaves down some people, and they're not even going to appeal it or anything. Kelly, what's the story there?
When you fail, I think it's pretty clear when you fail the laser inspection station that, NASCAR, I don't think really has much of it's not really, there's really no gray area there. It's very much black and white. You either fail or you don't. So, I think RCR knew that. I was surprised they didn't appeal too, but then, really looking at it, I think when it comes to the laser inspection station, it's pretty clear. Your skews are off or your rear toe or whatever it may be, and those are solid, those numbers come up in black and white. So I think it's hard to appeal. but it certainly could not have come at a worse time. I mean, he would have been 7 points behind McMurray going into this weekend, and now instead he's 22 points. So that's almost insurmountable. I mean, maybe that might be a little.
I don't think you're wrong,
but I feel like personally that's almost insurmountable. He's pretty much got to win this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bad gamble from my perspective. That, I mean, why take a chance?
Yeah, especially if you're bubble or in or whatever.
Where did he end up finishing? 8th place, 6th place, something around there.
Sure, we'll go with that.
5, so 20 whatever, or 30 whatever. 20. Yeah, I can do
math.
Arithmetic really good on the radio. It just doesn't seem like it was a good gamble. To whatever part they decided was going to fail and shift, or if they decided they were just going to do the toe with the rear, the rear wheels. It just didn't seem like a good idea. Like, why would you do it at Darlington?
Kelly, from your perspective, are these guys doing this to push the envelope, or did they just get caught, cheating? What's the story there?
I wish I was more technical that I could kind of break it down, but when these guys, it seems like the theme of this inspection station, or at least when teams are getting caught, it's with the rear toe settings, which NASCAR has kind of changed the last few years of what's allowed, what's not, whether you can mess with it, whether it has to be kind of stable, I think, from what I understand, if I'm saying that right. So in the statement that Richard Childress Racing put out, they're saying that obviously their rear toe settings were within the rules during pre-race inspection, but when you go back through post-races is when they got caught. They're saying in their statement that when he made contact with when Newman made contact with the wall, that's what shifted all the bodywork and fenders and tire and whatnot, which is what threw off their settings post-race. So, like I said, I wish I was technical enough that I could tell you whether or not that's a legitimate explanation.
So
but,
me and Sherwin
I can tell you that's a flat-out lie from RCR. They're just posturing media-wise.
The rear toe is where all of these guys are getting busted when they go through this station, and it's just because I think NASCAR has been on and off with what their tolerances are the last couple of years, and certainly this year with this package, and they were experimenting with something during the All-Star race about it. So it's something that teams are just playing around with, and they're learning what they can and can't do.
Yeah, well, Newman would have been fine if he had not touched the wall. It is my guess.
Did they put one of those crumbly pieces in?
No. We're talking about toe here.
Oh, okay, never mind.
They screwed up. So that's a geometry you put into the rear axle, and you can't mess with that too much once you set it up, because you will tear up a rear end gear because of the translation of vertical force versus horizontal force. So they have to be really careful with that, and they have to build it into the car. So it's got to be something that they hit the wall late or early, maybe it doesn't matter, that bumped the wheel just a little bit more skewed on the toe. And NASCAR was not happy about it and decided to penalize them 15 points.
Yeah. Let's move on then. College football battle at Bristol. Talk to us, Kelly. What are your thoughts on this? Have you seen the field and what everything looks like?
Yeah, the time lapse has been amazing that Bristol has been putting out there, and all the different photos I've been getting in my email throughout the update, updating us throughout the process. So I think that's really, really cool. We've talked a lot in this sport about different racetracks wanting to hold different sporting events. Daytona made it known when they were changing their grandstands and all that stuff, doing the whole Daytona Rising, that they would love to have other sporting events. So Eddie Gossage in Texas has said the same thing for years, that he would love to see different sporting events at racetracks. So this is really cool that an idea came to life like this. And I've been going to Bristol the last couple years, and I know that on one of the roads leading to the racetrack, they have a really cool sign up by one of the local businesses that have been counting down the days and the hours since this was announced. So they're really excited, and it's going to be really cool to see how this plays out. The only thing I'm upset about is that it's going to be at the same time as the Richmond race on Saturday night. So not a lot of people, at least those of us who are working and have to pay attention to Bristol, are not going to really get to enjoy it unless we go back and watch it later. So I'm kind of bummed about that, but it's really cool to see an idea like this come together. It's awesome that they got the biggest matchup for week 2, which is also kind of local, obviously, for Bristol and Tennessee. So I think it's hopefully this is the start of NASCAR or these racetracks taking advantage of stuff like this and doing it going forward. And I'll be really interested to see if Bristol is able to keep doing this for years to come, and kind of, how they can, what games they can snatch, these big matchups. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, I can say as a Bristol fan advisory board member, this is a one-off. I would not expect year-over-year football games at Bristol.
Well, and they know how to market it. Put this one big thing up. I've seen some pictures from the stands, and it looks a little not
tiny,
not ideal in terms of that. But I don't think this is about being able to see the game as much as it is about being there at this place. I shouldn't say not seeing the game. Of course you want to see the game, but it's a little bit strange the way they put it, and the way that they have the viewing angles that you have and all that. But I think it's a spectacle. It's going to be really neat to see it on TV. It's going to be really neat to hear people. People will be able to say, I went to that. And I think that's what makes it a unique thing, and that's why they may not do it, year over year necessarily. But I think it's really, obviously it's cool. It's
100%,
really neat.
100%. It is absolutely the best marketing tool that Bristol has used to try to get people to come watch the race.
We'll see in the spring
I don't think
if that
they
translates.
can afford to do it year over year, because I think in the end, no matter how many people you get there, if you get 150, 160, 175,000 fans there for the football game, I don't think it's sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's move on. We've got Strange with Stang. And I know
my goodness.
Ashley is on the Periscope right now. She's going to hear us talk about this. Kelly, you may not have been introduced to this, but there's a fan of the podcast. Her name's Ashley Stang. Not only fan of the podcast, she's also a owner of K&N East, team. And I think you've said you've either heard of or interacted with her before, right, too?
Yeah, I believe that name sounds familiar.
Yeah, so Alan Gustafson, we keep messing up his name because something about either my accent or whatever, I can't say that name.
Alan Gustafson?
Yep, something like that.
Yeah, his kid
was
supposed to race for them at Greenville Pickens.
Yeah, and so really cool deal they've got going on. But every week she sends us a fun question, something different. And we've talked about drinking a gallon of barbecue sauce. We've talked about desert islands, and we've talked about all kinds of crazy stuff.
We've talked about some weird ass stuff.
So Ashley Stang asked us this week. All right, here's a situation. Let's put it.
It's a situation.
It's a situation one. Yep. Here we go. Let's say you're out camping and you come face to face with an animal, and you have one weapon. All right. So there's two variables here. There's the animal and there's the weapon. Weapon is of your choosing. You get to choose whatever weapon you want. And the animal options that she gave us, you can either come across a black bear, a jaguar, an angry gorilla, or a pack of hungry wolves, and you get your weapon of choice. Now, to give it some color here.
Paint the picture.
Her prediction was, she said, y'all would die.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So before
she destroyed our punchline, by the way.
That was funny. She's right. Y'all would die.
You did. You could have left it out.
Well, we're having fun. So before I die, I'm going to use this weapon against this animal. So, Kelly, we're sorry to just drop you right into the middle of our Strange with Stang. What's your thoughts? What would you do? Black bear, jaguar, angry gorilla, pack or hungry wolves, and you get your weapon of choice.
I would die. I mean, I'm just going to keep it simple. There's a reason. There's a reason why I avoid situations like this is because I know what the outcome would be. I would not make it. So, a weapon would do me no good. So I just.
So you go nuclear bomb and just say, screw everybody, we're done. If I'm gonna die, I'm going out in style.
There's a reason why I try to avoid situations where I know that it would not end well, and that is one of those situations.
Sherwin, thoughts?
Okay, so I was hoping that Kelly wouldn't already get into what we think is funny about this particular question from Ms. Ashley Stang, but the reality is, if Rusty and I are in the woods at a campground, we are drunk. So it doesn't matter what weapon or what one of them animals is presented in front of us, we're gonna lose.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I guess if I was sober and I had to pick, I'd probably pick the Jaguar, and I'd pick a 1911 45 automatic. My
with an
personal
extended clip.
favorite handgun with an like a 21 round clip. It's just hanging out the bottom. I'm like, what are you carrying?
What is that?
And just keep pulling trigger. Boom, 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 boom. But the reality is, I'd be wandering off in the woods trying to find a tribe of wild Indians.
Right. I'd probably be.
And I would get murked.
Well, so my weapon is my legs. I'd just try to outrun Sherwin.
Just outrun Sherwin. That's all you got to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
No. So little known fact. It's funny that she asked this question. Me and our esteemed producer, the Frizz 11, we do a lot of backpacking, and we've gone out west and all that, and so we actually have, crazy enough, we have some experience with this question, I'll say, which is...
You met predators?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Black bear, jaguar, angry gorilla, and pack or hungry wolves.
All of them?
Let me break this down for you.
Werewolves?
Jaguar is fast as hell, and you can keep shooting, and you're just going to keep missing. He's just coming at you.
Well, he's in Africa, too.
I hadn't been in Africa, so, if there's that crazy...
Or South America.
Wherever it is, if you come across that crazy Rocky Mountain jaguar, then...
Hey, by the way, cats suck because they're super athletic.
Right.
A house cat can mess your life up.
Right. I've got scars.
This big.
I've got scars from our own cat, so I ain't messing with no cat. Angry gorilla, have you seen an angry gorilla?
The ones that weigh 450 pounds?
Right. They will mess you up, and I'm using nice words.
Bench press a semi.
Right. Pack of hungry wolves, we're talking about a pack. You're done.
Oh, you're done.
You're done.
Doesn't matter what weapon you have.
Well,
you're not killing them all.
Here's the funny part. We've come across
12 or 13 of them.
In our hiking and in our backpacking that we do, we've come across bear before. Not at super close range, but black bear are the more...
a baby grizzly.
Black bear are the more tamer of the bear. That's the one you're just supposed to like bow up and just be like, get out of here, bear, go away. If she had said grizzly bear, that's almost, I won't say a different story.
You know what's ironic? Black bears kill more people than brown bears, which is what we're calling all of the category of Kodiak, brown, and grizzly now.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan. Thank you, Joe Rogan, for that science.
So here's my answer. I would want the black bear because I think they're the more docile, unless you're like, playing with their cubs or something. It's going to be the more docile.
For sure don't hand out cards and say, let's play some Uno with a bear's cubs.
Right. And here's the crazy part. There's been stories of the old pioneers and stuff who would go out and they would bring a big old thing of ammunition and go out and try to shoot bear, whether it's black bear or most of the time it's grizzly bear, and they would come back with no ammo and 4 of the 5 guys were dead. And they would say, we shot the bear with all the ammo and everybody died but me. I'm just a guy coming back telling you I'm out. So what we carry with us in the woods is bear mace, and bear mace will get rid of them. So I'm sorry to be practical with my answer, but I'll take the black bear, and I'll take the bear mace, and I will survive the situation unless it's me and Sherwin, because then we're just gonna goof off and
we're gonna be drunk.
We're gonna die.
We might die.
We're gonna die.
Kelly.
She
already weighed in on the front end.
Well, she talked to us there. Kelly, one question we ask every person before we let you go, as their first time on. is regardless of whether it means what we ask is, what would you change about NASCAR? What one thing would you love to change about NASCAR? And that either means it's an open-ended question. It means putting butts in the seats, putting eyeballs on the TV, making it more exciting, making the young guys be able to do something. What one thing would you change about the series?
Oh my goodness, I didn't know you were going to put me on the spot.
We like to do that with at least one.
It's kind of twofold, and I don't think this may make me get unfollowed by a lot of people on Twitter after I say this, but this is the honest answer. I think what NASCAR, and I've said this repeatedly, I think what NASCAR needs to do is I think we try too hard to be like other mainstream sports, and I think that has gotten us away from what racing is supposed to be. I feel like we've gotten a little too gimmicky with some things in the sport. I feel like we're trying to compete with mainstream sports, and we're not like other sports. Racing is very different, and I feel like we've forgotten that a little bit. So that's the first part of it, and the second part of it is I think sometimes NASCAR listens to the fans too much. I hate to insult fans because it's not them. I think what the problem is, I think NASCAR is trying to please so many people and trying to listen to the fan base when it comes to all the ideas that they have and kind of the things that they want to see, which is certainly something that NASCAR should do. You should be paying attention to what the reaction is to the people who are paying to watch your races and supporting these drivers. But I feel like, and again, this is just my opinion. I just feel like sometimes, we listen way too much, and it kind of gets NASCAR, it takes the focus away from maybe doing the right thing, whereas instead we're trying to do something just to please somebody. And I feel like that instead you end up doing the opposite, which is upsetting more people than
kind
pleasing.
So knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but that's kind of what I have felt like the last couple of years. I think NASCAR, in my opinion, if we just sit back and go back to doing what was working and worrying about our sport and ourselves and not so much trying to compete with anybody else or trying to make everybody happy, maybe that would be a good place to start.
I think that's a great perspective. Sherwin, we've had a few guests on the show, and that's the second time we've heard that. I think our friend of the podcast, T. Wright Front Tires, said that one time when he was on.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that there's been a lot of evolution with race fans over the past couple years, and I think NASCAR has seen some of it and adjusted. What they haven't adjusted enough to is exactly what Kelly just said. I don't even know how to say it any better, so I'll just say, please listen to Kelly's response because it was fantastic.
Kelly, tell us where everybody can find you on Twitter and on the web and on everywhere else that they can find you.
Well, I appreciate it. Just keep going to NBCSports.com and reading, my stuff and my colleagues. I work with some really great people over there. Some that I'm sure a lot of NASCAR fans know, and Nate Ryan and Dustin Long, Daniel McFadden's over there. I'm glad to be part of that group. So make sure you guys are still going to the website and keep me around. I love what I do. So I appreciate all the support. On Twitter, it's just at Kelly Crandall. I love to talk. So anybody wants to come over there and follow along, make sure you, like I said, read the stories, click on the stories, just keep me around because I like to tell people I'm not trained to do anything else. So if this doesn't work out, I'm in big trouble. So everybody's support will go a long way.
That's awesome. Y'all go follow her. Y'all go read her stuff. I'm going to go read about Brendan Gaughan now. That's going to be fun. Going back in the archives there and looking at that. Really looking forward to that and really looking forward to the next thing you come out. So thank you, Kelly, for joining us on the show. Very much appreciate it.
Yeah, I refresh her stuff every day just to read if she's done something new. Very appreciative of Kelly coming on the show today, and this is the kind of conversations we want to have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what we want to do on our podcast, and we certainly want to support the folks that are really, driving NASCAR journalism, etc.
Exactly. Kelly, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next time, right?
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys. It was fun.
Awesome. See you later. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Well, that was great, and we didn't. I hope we didn't scare her off.
I hope not.
We want to thank her a
I was
ton.
nervous the whole time, man.
I can tell.
I was totally nervous.
We got a few shout-outs.
I love Kelly.
Let's start closing
love
this thing
Kelly.
down. We got a few
She's
shout-outs.
awesome.
There's our shout-out sheet
Shove
telling
it
us
right
we got
back
shout-outs
down and
coming
get some
up.
shout-outs
That's
in.
right. We met Carlton at _Carlton.
And Blair Wilkie.
and
Papa
Carlton at TERILINGUA at the racetrack. That was really fun.
Terralingua,
Yeah.
spelled different than what you see on Twitter.
Yeah, so
or not Twitter, but Wikipedia.
Carlton, great to see you, and he's on the Periscope giving us a thumbs up. That a boy. New friend of the podcast, our special guest on the last episode,
Jeff Whitler.
Jeff Whitler at WITTLER _JEFFREY Whitler _Jeffrey. He's a big fan of Carl Edwards and Jordan Anderson, which is really cool.
Who is on the Wall of Fame.
Is on the Wall of Fame holding the PETM sticker. So very cool. It was fun having him on. And a new follower, Sherwin.
Yeah, new follower. Christine Pipes at Tyne _Pipes. Thanks for joining us on the old Tweeter deck.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate it.
So let's start.
Looking forward to interacting.
Let's start doing our thing, man. It's time to close her out. We've got the Jelly Bean Closeout Challenge. We're going to stuff our mouths full of jelly beans and then close this thing out. Here goes nothing. We about time to refill the jelly beans here.
Yeah, it is.
Y'all.
Oh, get your sticker.
Get your
DM
sticker.
us at PETM Podcast.
You can put them jelly beans in before you talk, but
You're right.
y'all give us DM, shout out, hook us up on email, GChat, whatever you want to do, and send us that request. Get your sticker. It's absolutely free. You ain't got to pay us nothing.
Yeah,
We're paying the
totally free.
stamps. We're paying the sticker.
It's a destination sticker. You know you love it. If
and
you
get
got
your-
OBX, you need PETM.
By the way, get your 2016 version, because from what I hear, there may be a 2017 version coming out.
Oh,
Look out. So get your 2016.
One
while
of
it
a kind
lasts.
now. It's
While
going to
it
change.
lasts. We want to thank each and every one of you every week for joining in. We can't do that. I mean, we could do this without you, but then it's me and Sherman just talking about NASCAR. So we
Well, that
can't-
would suck, wouldn't it? Mostly that would probably suck.
So thank you so much for listening. We love y'all. Love you to death. You know where to follow us at PETM Podcast. And as always, I'm Tailgate Mayor at Tailgate Mayor.
And I'm Andrew Sherwin at Pregame ENG.
We'll talk to y'all next week.
Woo! Damn. Thumbs up, y'all.